My name is Stacie Lancaster. I'm a social worker. I work for an inpatient mental health unit. I am a mom, and because of what it did for my child and my family, my grown children and our family, is the reason I became a certified and then advanced trainer, and then decided somewhere along the way that we were going to put Iowa on the map, quite frankly, and that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
I'm Jan Streich, and I am the community coordinator for 7 counties in Iowa. In Iowa, the Department of Human Services is broken up into 5 service areas. We're considered the Northern Service Area, which is 27 counties. And so I am responsible for 7 of those counties. What my job entails is bringing community partners together to identify what gaps in services we have in order to keep our children and families safe and in stable environments.
I left CTI training in 2010, and my goal, my vision, my absolute burning desire is we were going to bring Howie to Iowa. That's really what this was really about bringing Howie to Iowa, because I believed firmly that as incredible as the knowledge is, it's really sitting with somebody and experiencing what a nurtured heart environment feels like for 5.5 days. And that's what transformed my life. And that is Howie, that is the power of those who run Children's Success Foundation. It is really the experience. And so that was my goal. I'm gonna go back, and I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know with whom, but Howie's gonna sit in Iowa and we're gonna do a CTI training. And so with that, I started to offer classes. And parents really, I have to say, partnered with me. They are the reason that we're here, because they started to talk, not only to their counselors, their teachers, each other, and they started to really demand nurtured heart. And so as a result of continuing to do that work and having some incredible breaks along the way, one of which was a grant that allowed us to do a conference and put 200 people in a room with some other trainers in Iowa to explain what nurtured heart was, to really start that conversation. We finally had a person who, I call it the path to Jan, brought us to our financial people, who allowed us to do some classes for free for DHS, for those who were in services, but allowed us to also bring some professional staff and leaders to sit in those rooms with parents, to watch their struggle, to learn how to do this a little bit differently, to see what that was like. My belief is that if you teach it well enough, deep enough, and you nurture the heart sitting in front of you, you never really have to sell nurtured heart, because people will take it and they'll run with it. And I've never done sales with nurtured heart. It really has been the parents who have lit the path in Iowa. How we were able to get this to an interagency level for nurtured heart in North Iowa was we have a very intuitive teacher and let's call her a social worker in a school system who actually sat at a table, we call it the decategorization table, that do a lot of interagency work. And so she was able to obtain some funding that allowed us to do the parenting classes.
We started looking at different outcomes that we wanted to achieve. We wanted safety for children. We wanted to reduce our reabuse numbers. We wanted children that had been placed in out-of-home placement to have more stability. And so we talked about what services do we have, and then we talked about what services don't we have, and how could we achieve those goals. And in each of those areas, as we started identifying what services could we put in, Nurtured Heart approach was there. So when we said we want children to be safe from abuse, what would work? Nurtured Heart. We want children to be safe from reabuse, what would work? Nurtured Heart. When we wanted children to be able to stay in foster care, one foster care, not multiple foster cares, what service could help that? It was Nurtured Heart. So as I circled NHA through all of these needs, I looked at the group and I said, Nurtured Heart will be our #1 priority for the next fiscal year. And that is when I said, but we can't do it with one Stacie. We've got to have more than one Stacie. So let's see what we can do in getting Howard Glasser here. What we decided we wanted to do was to bring Howard Glasser to Northern Iowa to provide certified training and hopefully be able to train 40 people. And that was really specifically my job, to convince the head of the Department of Human Services to let us use their money to make the training available, which doesn't happen often because normally they want it to go into services. Therefore, I needed to convince the department head that this was going to make a difference in the outcomes of the child welfare world. And I took Howard's journal paper and said, here you go, take a look at the effects on foster care, take a look at the effects on juvenile court delinquency, recidivism, take a look at the numbers of Title I kids versus gifted kids now, take a look at the costs of what medications are now. And so he thought that that was good enough documentation to say yes, but with a caveat.
Strings attached.
Strings attached. Instead of 7 counties, because he's in charge of the 27, I want you to focus on the 27 counties.
So when we were told we had to do 27 counties, we were a little shocked and in awe, but actually really excited. So from the beginning, part of the seeds that I planted and Jan helped to plant as we moved along was that imagine what our world would look like if we were able to provide in every agency at least one Nurtured Heart trainer, but preferably Nurtured Heart trained staff, that no matter where a family went, no matter where a child went, no matter where an adult went, including our local hospital, that whomever they came in contact with would be coming in contact with a Nurtured Heart approach encounter. And so really our goal was never even in providing services, it was really in changing our culture so that we could help to build the portfolio needed for people to really be able to do and have the resiliency they need in life to take care of themselves. That we are really looking at reducing services. We are really looking at a time Nurtured Heart won't even be needed because it will be part and parcel of who we are and how we do our culture in North Iowa. It becomes how we talk to each other. For other communities who want to make Nurtured Heart approach part of their culture, to be able to go community-wide, I think the first most important step is to do training well. It needs to have depth to it. Your parents, your professionals, they need to not only know about Nurtured Heart, they need to be able to do Nurtured Heart. And because when they have success, they will talk about their success and they really become your best brochure, the best brochure you could ever make. I think that's the first step. The second step is not to silo your trainings. You need to invite other people in to the room as you're doing those trainings. So you're always looking at who else could be at the table, who else could be learning this, who else could be watching what's going on. And then the other piece is that when the people that you're working with ask, what could we do next? How can I help you? How can I support you? What do you need from me? And make yourself available. I gave away a lot of books initially. I spent a lot of time in short and long meetings, staff meetings. I traveled to different cities for free to talk about and to help people have that conversation with their boss or with their board of directors or whomever about what the Nurtured Heart approach is. So I think one of the greatest things that's happened for us since our CTI training in August of 2014 is in the last, which has really only been 6 months from the time we are doing this interview, is those agencies who used to sort of work together have come together really as a team. So what we see is CTI trainers who will do kind of shout outs. I need somebody in this town because we're a rural area. I need somebody in this town to do this training on this day. Jan gets a ton of emails and phone calls. So this isn't just about me. It really has become about both of us in really scheduling and sort of putting pieces and people in place to really get sort of the best bang for our buck, but also what is most effective for the agencies, as well as the grants that have come out of this initiative and the people that we're really impacting.
I think it's also important to note that when we decided to do the training in August of 2014, we sent an application to the people that came and took this 6-hour training. Really, there were just a couple of things that we asked. Tell us about your greatness. And the second was, how are you going to roll this out within your community, within your organization? And The next biggest point was you have to agree, if we send you through the training, you have to agree to do 2 free sessions, 6-week sessions, somewhere in your community and not within your organization. And every person signed on the dotted line.
When we finished Nurtured Heart training, or the certified training intensive in August, we had 40 people. Actually, technically we had 36 people who had signed on the dotted line with that commitment to be those people who would help expand the teaching and the implementation of Nurtured Heart. And then we had 3 people who came from our health center, and who cover a 14 county area, even a little bit outside of that 27 county area, who made the same commitment. And so they have, along with us, been able to do inside their community as well as outside of their agency to help to support and provide training. Sometimes the transformation takes a little time and it's a little hard, and that change can be difficult. And so we provided then 5 trainings within 6 weeks for staff. At any of these agencies, you could send one person, you could send your entire staff to be trained by me. So it was really a person from outside of their agency who provided that information and had those initial conversations. So also that provided our pool of people who applied to become a trainer and go through that training for free. That gave us our pool. So we knew they were trained, we knew they were trained well. Again, that depth of training, that depth of information, and that depth of relationship with me and with all of us who are going to be a part of this leadership, so that we could see them and we could see what was happening and really see their excitement, was what we then walked into our room when we made our decisions about who would be able to attend that training.
This group is about children and families. This group is about making sure that we save one child or one family one day at a time. Once you have your strategic partners together and have that common goal of helping families, my best suggestion is not to start huge. It's to start small. Start with just a small group of parents that you want to focus on from this collaborative group, and say, one, yeah, I have a parent, and the other one can say, yeah, I do too. If you have 2, 3, 4 parents, focus on that, because that is going to become your voice and your success. In our area, we had a local juvenile court judge that had been serving families for over 23 years, removing families, terminating parental rights. He'd seen it all. And when we presented Nurtured Heart to him, he has taken many books. He has distributed them to the Children's Justice at the state level. He has distributed them to the head of the Department of Human Services at the state level. He has distributed them to all judges in our area. And one of the final things that he did is that he runs what they call family treatment court. And it's a court for families that have substance abuse issues. And there's a lot of professional staff that are involved in helping to decide how this family goes. He has now made it mandatory that those professional staff take Nurtured Heart training. He is a champion for us. So when you can find one champion that has had experience with families and children, and you can get them to believe in the Nurtured Heart approach, that champion will help you.
We have seen some amazing results about their willingness to finally work with the professionals in our medical community that has not existed. They have stayed away from our hospital because it was so punitive and it was so shaming, and not meant to be. People were really well-intentioned in trying to help, but frustrated, and so that frustration is gone. And so patients are willing to open up. Clients are willing to open up, and they're willing to go back and forth. And that is now being expanded to our local mental health center, which has it's called the integrated health home. So they're doing targeted case management for our state Medicaid funding. And so they're going to add that. So again, imagine now we have 3 fundamental facilities and organizations who really work with our tough customers, you might say, our adults. And so as we're changing our adults, we're also changing the lives of the children who are in their lives in whatever capacity that may be. And so that has been phenomenal to watch all of them come together to make that impact.